Whether it's trucks, TVs, or UTVs, most of us want the biggest and the baddest. When it comes to utility UTVs, one of the biggest and baddest machines for 2013 is the Polaris Ranger XP 900. Its towing, storage, and ability to be customized for working and playing make it one of the most versatile and comfortable machines you can hit the trail with. There's so much to like about the XP 900 that it makes the vehicle hard to look past. Well, until you realize that you need $12,999 to purchase the base model. If you can't afford the nearly $13,000 buy-in for the Ranger XP 900, you may have to settle for second best. Well, it may still be the best, it just depends on how you look at it. While the XP 900 rules Polaris' full-size Ranger lineup, the midsize Ranger 500 has been surpassed as the king of Polaris midsize working class. Ranger's new middleweight champion is the new Ranger 800 EFI. While the XP 900 rules Polaris' full-size Ranger lineup, the midsize Ranger 500 has been surpassed as the king of Polaris midsize working class. Ranger's new middleweight champion, the 800 EFI, is a capable workhorse with the power-to-weight ratio to rip out on the trail. For $2,500 less than the new XP 900, it's also a machine that more of us can afford to own, so we felt it was a 2013 model we couldn't afford to look past. The midsize Ranger 800 EFI uses a very similar chassis to the Ranger 400 and 500. We've tested the 400 in the past and felt its solid handling and adequate power made it a fun small-bore workhorse. The Ranger 400 weighs 1,050 pounds and is powered by an engine claimed to produce 29 horsepower. The Ranger 800 weighs just 35 pounds more at 1,085 pounds. Its 760cc inline twin-cylinder engine is claimed to put out 21 more horsepower than the 400, with 50 horsepower. During a day of riding multiple machines, it was hard to explore all of the 800's minute details. However, driving it back-to-back with the larger Ranger XP 900, we got a good feel for how the middleweight performed. Weighing just 35 pounds more than the Ranger 400, while enjoying a 21 horsepower advantage, the Ranger 800 is a little ripper. We thought it was quicker out of the hole than the Ranger XP 900. On the trail, the 800 is smooth and manageable, while offering ample power for attacking hills and sliding out of turns. Crawling along, the engine and transmission remain responsive and manageable, which will aid the 800 when it comes to working, hunting, or exploring. The lack of engine braking isn't a big deal, thanks to the brakes' good power and feel. You could easily lock all four up in the slippery Montana mud. Negotiating through the wet terrain is simple. Leave it in two-wheel drive if you want to slide out in turns, or flip it into all-wheel drive if you want the front wheels to pull you through turns, up hills, or anytime the rear wheel starts spinning and needs some help. Handling on the 800 is stable. There is a hint of body roll driving into turns, but nothing unsettling. At moderate speeds and on side hills, the machine feels planted. Steering is pretty accurate, with just a hint of understeer, which may aid a bit in the machine's predictable feeling on smooth high-speed trails. Ranger models seem to take a little more movement of the steering wheel to make the same turn as on some other models, but steering effort and bump feedback are both pretty light, without the expense of electric power steering. Suspension action is plush at both ends, with perhaps a slightly firmer feeling up front, traversing square-edged hits. On fast gravel roads and rough wooded trails, the Ranger suspension keeps things predictable and smooth. It's plush enough for all-day work and play, although it's not quite as supple as the Ranger XP 900, which seemingly lets you float over most trail clutter. The suspension, lightweight, and abundant horsepower allow you to have a little bit more fun than you might expect from a working or hunting-focused machine. Just don't get too carried away in the whoops. This is a Ranger, not a Razor. Riding back-to-back with the XP 900, we found the interior of the 800 notably less refined and a bit less comfortable. The 800's seat isn't as nicely padded, but the thing that stood out to us the most was the lack of extra legroom in the 800. The interior isn't really objectionable, just don't ride your buddy's XP 900 and you'll probably be satisfied. With a base price of $10,499, the Ranger 800 is $1,000 less expensive than the base model Rhino 700 and $500 less than the base model Kawasaki Teryx 750 or Arctic Cat Prowler 700. Although in ways, the Ranger doesn't seem quite as modern and refined. The 800's price lacks the wow factor that the Ranger 400 delivers, but it's still a class leader when it comes to price. Getting what you pay for, the Ranger gives up a little attention to detail, while bringing big bore UTV performance at a little more affordable price. For more information on the midsize Ranger 800 or Polaris' full line of side-by-sides and ATVs, log on to Polaris.com.